But when we call it a game, we encourage people to think creatively. We give them permission to go and explore an idea a little bit. And we give them an opportunity to disagree. I've had people tell me that they've had trouble getting threats through the threat model process because their boss owned a certain feature and their boss didn't like the threats they were finding. And that's a problem. But when you make it a matter of a game and say, I want my point, I get the point, we're going to write this down, and then you file a bug for it, you avoid that discussion. You give people permission to disagree with their boss. And, fortunately, at Microsoft, we've got a bunch of processes that help us deal with it, but it's much easier if you don't have to invoke those processes, but you can just make it a playful disagreement for the points, for the little tchotchke you give people at the end. This social permission is a really powerful feature. And finally, something that's really cool about the game is it actually produces real threat models. You can take a deck, you can sit down, you can play for an hour, and you've got a much better threat model than you had going in. And that's a real basis for real work to follow on. So if you think about effective, serious games, it's important to communicate about their objectives and their goals. Know what the game that you're going to build is going to do, how it's going to be played, what it's going to achieve. My goal was to give people a way to learn threat modeling and a way to actually threat model. Good games distribute problem solving. It's not I stand here and I tell you stuff. It's everyone around the table is playing, they're participating. We get lots of different perspectives. Good games can motivate a crowd. You can have player versus player games. You can have players playing against themselves in something like a solitaire game. You can have a player versus the environment. You can have players playing against their teammates. One of the things that made the Windows language, or that made the language quality game in Windows work is they set up leaderboards. Every time you filed a good bug, your team got points. And a lot of managers around the world in Microsoft offices got excited about getting more points than other teams. There were bets between countries. There were teams that covered the entire space of Windows dialogues because they were competing with each other. And so the motivation, getting people engaged. Yes, Alex? Do I have a play-by-mail version? No, but we have a play-by-Twitter version. Great idea. Yes, I like that idea. An Xbox Live version. And people, we come into the office, we're there to do work, but who wants to have a dry, boring, difficult day at the office? Anyone? No, you want to have fun. You want to get engaged. You want to be doing something that's enjoyable. And also, games can help with things like fairness and transparency and quick feedback. Finally, easy to scale. We make these available online. I'll give you a URL in a second. You can print these out. You can share them with people. It's easy to get 50 people going. You walk around. You talk to groups of 4 or 5 people playing, and it scales out really nicely. So there are some attributes that effective games have. And there are what we think of as in-job behaviors and organizational citizenship behaviors. And an in-job behavior is something you have to do, something that you are required to be doing. And we break those down into 3 groups. There are your core work skills. If you're running Nessus or dealing with Wireshark reports, something else like that, that's a core skill. Building a game can come across as trivializing that. So it's not a good place necessarily to put a game. If you have a unique skill, if there's something that you are the only person in your org who does this thing, and we create a game for it, we're undercutting that uniqueness. But when there are future work skills, when the game is for training, they work really well. So if you're thinking about a game to help people get their job done better, look to the training end of that. But if there are things, and the language quality game is an example of this, an organizational citizenship behavior, a core skill, for people around the world is the ability to communicate effectively in the language where they are. And so we drew on people's desire to do the right thing for the organization as a whole in a core work area. If we were asking them to do something unique, it would have been very hard. If we were asking them to develop new skills, it would have been too frustrating. But in that, the threat modeling game, Elevation of Privilege, works as a future skill development for a real in-job behavior we want people to do. The language quality game works as an organizational citizenship behavior for something we want to encourage people to do and jump into. So Elevation of Privilege is licensed Creative Commons attribution. That means you can take it, you can change it, you can make derivative works, and I would encourage you to go play with it. If you go to Microsoft.com, security, SDL, EOP, and these slides will be available to you later, then you can download a PDF of all of the card images. And so to close, I'd like to encourage you to go play Elevation of Privilege. Again, there's the URL. There's a bunch of other games that are happening at DEF CON this weekend. There's Capture the Flag, which is competitive attack and defense hacking. And there's Hacker Hide and Seek. This is being run by the guys at Core. And their idea is that they're going to have people write programs with backdoors and then hand them to the other teams, and the other teams have to detect them. So you're learning to hide a backdoor, you're learning to find a backdoor, and it's Hacker Hide and Seek at DEF CON this weekend. And finally, I'd like to encourage you all to go out and make your own games. It's fun, it's exciting, and it gives us an opportunity to transform our workplaces, help people develop new skills, and make the world a more enjoyable place. So with that, thank you very much. Do you want any? There's no mics for questions, so you just have to yell them out and I'll... Oh, okay. Questions?
Yeah. First, I want to thank you for describing that game. I picked up 2 of those decks of cards at RSA, and they've been sitting on my shelf. I don't know what to do with them. Now I know. Have you thought about developing a game to educate end users on computer security?
So there's 2 halves to that question. First, he's not sure what to do with them.
Now I know.
Now you know, but if anyone else finds themselves in this, we've got flow charts, very engineer-centric. There's instructions. Go explore. People, it's a...
of course, hadn't opened.
Oh, well, you hadn't opened them. Well, open it up. Play with them. Go play. But the second question is, have we thought about a game for educating end users? I'm looking at my manager who's laughing at me. Yes, I've...
together with Microsoft and the NCSA,
Okay.
Department of Homeland Security, National Consumer Education.
Okay, so... Yes. Yes, let's talk when I don't have a microphone attached to me. How's that? We've thought about it. We have no announcements. Yes?
It's 2 part question. First is, what sort of systems does this work best on? Organizational level and individual application? And the second is, from a grouping perspective, you talk about 50 people in rooms of 4. Have you write it like that as I put more faculty and more focused individual groups?
Yeah, okay, so the first question is, what sort of systems does this work best on? I have seen it work well on software under development, so think about like a boxed product or a website. I've also seen it work for systems integration sorts of things, where people are putting together a number of components, gluing them together, and deploying them to solve a business problem. So I've seen it work in both of those instances. The second question is, how do you make it work for a large group? And we talked about this a little bit via email. The way to do it is to split people up into groups of 4 or 5, have a deck for each of those groups, encourage them to get started, and then walk around and encourage them, answer questions, push them to actually play. And I've seen this. I had a room of 40 people at one of the MVP summits we hold at Microsoft. A couple of groups wanted to argue about whether or not the game was a good idea. I told them to actually play. They stopped arguing, and they had a lot of fun. So sometimes people need that social permission to play a game. right? Playing a game doesn't feel like work. It feels like you're doing something wrong to be enjoying yourself that much. And so they argued. But once they got into it, they really got into it. So, yes? Nice version of the deck on a Microsoft store. That's a great question. Do you think people would actually buy them versus print them?
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's a little bit more presentable.
yeah. Okay. That's great feedback. It's good to hear from the room that that's something that excites you. Yes.
Do you have any use cases or case studies that we could look at to kind of help us get started?
Use cases or case studies? Not yet. One of the things that's been a little challenging is because we went with a card game, physical cards, instead of an online version, getting feedback has been a challenge. If you guys are out there using it, and thank you, Dominique, for actually taking the time to email me. Some other folks have emailed me. But give me your feedback. If you would like to be in a case study, that would be awesome. I would love to give someone a little bit of a spotlight and say, this is how it's working for you. Blog about it. I will pick up your blog and amplify that for you. But yeah, we'd love to do more case studies. Yes?
So more on the gaming aspect of it, whenever you were developing this game going through, did you actually do play testing at all? Or did you actually just kind of develop a game and say, okay, let's go to this and let's try tweaks? And if you did, I'm curious as to what failed whenever you were actually developing.
Okay, question is, did we play test and what failed? It's a great question. The big thing that failed was so yes, we did play test. We went through 15, 20 playtest sessions. The big thing that failed was the point system. I used to have a point system that gave you more points for higher cards, more points for bigger threats. It was all too complicated. What would happen is people would look to me for an answer on what the points should do, and the points were an attempt to align the reward in the game to the behaviors I wanted to see. And it was a blocker to engagement. And so we simplified that out massively. I also went through 3 or 4 different iterations of the way in which we phrased the hints on the cards. So at one point it said, your code is vulnerable because, at another point it says, an attacker could, at another point it said, someone could, and we ended up with an attacker. We wanted to personify a little bit. We saw that work a little bit better, that an attacker could do this to you. But playtesting was key. If we hadn't playtested, I think it would be a lot less successful. We have time for one more question. We don't have a moderator. How are we doing on time? I'll take more questions until you all run away. How's that?
Do you have any of the cards here?
I have one final deck here. What? I'll ship you some. So whoever asked that question gets the deck. How's that? All right. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.